One of the most common questions I get asked by companies that are contacting me to ask about technical questions for their 510K submission or de novo submission, or if somebody is trying to budget, they're in the beginning of a design project and they're trying to budget for their regulatory submissions, or just somebody that is in the middle of a submission and they need help and they realize they're over their head. They ask, how much do you charge? And a lot of consultants are cagey about that because they don't know how many hours they're going to put in. So, and they don't want to underestimate and then disappoint the client with a higher bill. We've decided to go to flat fee pricing. So a year ago, we announced we're going to do flat fee pricing, and we put a pricing sheet on our website. You can just download it. You just click on the download button, and there's our standard pricing, and it lists all our services. It's been a year, and we're increasing our rates, but it's not really an increase. What we've done is when we announced the flat fee pricing, we were offering $12,000 for a submission, but we were charging by the hour for any responses to FDA questions. And so now that we've had a year to see how much time we put into responding to questions from the FDA, one of the things that we've found is that almost every single company that requests a pre-sub has fewer questions from the FDA than the companies that don't have pre-subs. So rather than having one pricing for pre-sub and one pricing for without pre-sub and another price for the submission and then hourly charges for afterwards, we are truly making this flat fee pricing. It's $14,000 for a 510K or a de novo submission. The same price for both. And it's truly a flat fee. There isn't a different charge for pre-subs. Whether you choose a pre-sub or don't choose a pre-sub, we're charging the same amount. Because if you don't choose a pre-sub, we're going to end up having to do more work on the back end of the project, answering questions from the FDA. And if you choose a pre-sub, we're going to have more prep work in the beginning, but it's about the same amount of work. And it just makes it too complicated for the client to figure out, well, how much am I really going to end up paying here? How much should I budget? And should I approve this expense? And it makes our quoting a proposal to a client more complicated as well. So to make it simpler for everybody, flat fee pricing. If it takes longer than we expect, we make a little less money per hour. If it takes less time than we expect, everybody's happy. So flat fee pricing. Next slide here is going to give you the details of that. So if you click on the download button, you'll get all the details for all our pricing. But for submissions, there's something called a 513G submission. That's for asking the FDA for what is the classification of our device. So if your device doesn't have an obvious product classification, you're not sure, you can submit a 513G. Usually we're submitting pre-subs instead, and we're fairly certain what the classification is. But if I actually have a client that has no idea and I'm not sure either, so we're going to submit a 513G for that client. It takes us about the same amount of time as it does to prepare a pre-sub. So 513Gs and pre-subs, we made the same price, $3,000. Now, if you chose to do a pre-sub and then later on say we want to do a pre-sub and a 510K, I'm going to credit you the $3,000 towards the $14,000 price tag. So you're not going to pay $3,000 plus 14. You're going to pay $14,000 minus the $3,000 you already paid. And typically we have all our payments for submissions in installments. So your first installment is typically $3,000, and then we would have 3 more installments or 2 more installments, depending on how quickly your project's going to go, for the balance of the project. But the total amount is a flat fee of $14,000. And if you just want to do the 513G or the pre-sub, it's $3,000. I've tried to make it ultra clear. If you do a pre-sub and a 510K, $14,000. If you just do a 510K, $14,000. If you do a pre-sub and a de novo, $14,000. If you do a de novo request, it's a $14,000. So that's our standard pricing. Now, there is one little aha got you at the end here, e-copy fee of $150 each. That's because we never know how many e-copies we're going to have to do for a client. Conceivably, if we have the pre-sub go smoothly, we should only have 2. I've had sometimes where we have more than 2 because the client says, oh, we made a change, we want to submit that as a supplement. Okay, or an amendment to the pre-sub. Okay, we'll do that. Sometimes the FDA and the company disagree on the meeting minutes, so we have to submit an amendment for that. So we could have 4 of them. Once we submit the 510K, we could have, that's one e-copy. We could have an RTA response. That could be a second e-copy. You could have a second RTA. It's happened. You could also have an AI request. You could have requests for additional information that occur prior to that, if the FDA asks for clarification, or if we made a mistake, or the client made a mistake, or something's missing. We could also have multiple changes to the FDA request. So there are any number of e-copies that are going to be required. We have to prepare this submission, we have to validate it, we have to print out a copy of the cover letter, and we have to send it by FedEx. So we've chosen a flat fee for that. So whether you're just doing an e-copy and you do the rest of your submission, or it's part of the submission process, that's a flat fee per e-copy. And typically the way I do it is we have flat fee schedule, so $3,000 would be your first payment. Then we would split up the remaining $11,000 depending on how many payments and how long it's going to take. It might be 2 or 3 payments, and then there would be a final e-copy bill at the very end when you get your 510K cleared, and that could be as small as, let's say, $300 for 2 e-copies. It could be much larger if you had 5, 6, or 7 e-copies. And then, of course, we have hourly assistance. So if the project is terminated, we're going to tally up the hours and charge you by the hour at our hourly rate, which is typically $300. If you instead expand the scope of the project and you want us to do change the submission substantially, and it basically requires us starting all over again, that would be done on an hourly basis for the work we had already done, or the work that's remaining to make the changes. And if you have already prepared a 510K, but it's not quite done and you need help with the last little bit, or you've already submitted and you have an RTA response and you need help responding in the RTA, then we'll help you on an hourly basis. We have several clients that come to us after working with one consultant that didn't deliver, and they ask us to clean up the mess. We'll help you on an hourly basis. That's the least expensive way to do it. So our flat fee, $14,000. If you're just doing a 513G or pre-sub, it's $3,000, and we would credit that to you if you decide to go on for the 510K or de novo. And there's an e-copy fee of $150 per e-copy, and of course our hourly rate. And all those fees are listed on our download sheet that gives you the standard pricing and describes our services. If you have any other questions, contact me at the email below, or on our Contact Us page, we also have a Calendly link so you can schedule a call with us. Thank you, and talk to you soon.